Hi guys, welcome back to my channel and welcome to today's video, which is my February TBR. Not to start this video off on a negative note, but 2026 has not been my year so far, guys. I have been going through it, to be completely honest with you, which is a different story for a different day, but my point is I did not get much reading done last month and I didn't do a great job at sticking to my TBR. And to be honest, I'm not sure how much I'm going to be able to read in February as well, but as always, I am going to try my absolute best. I feel like February is usually a pretty good reading month for me. Even though it's a shorter month, I still somehow always manage to read a pretty good number of books. And it's the month of love, so as a romance reader, what more could you ask for? I definitely want to add lots of romance books to the TBR this month, and there were lots of books I wanted to get to last month that I was really excited about and just didn't get a chance to, so I want to try to add those on to February's TBR as well. With that, I'm going to pull my usual 6 prompts from the jar today, so let's just jump right into it. Prompt number 1 is a book that's been on your TBR for over a year. Definitely quite a few. I really want to read First Time Caller in February because it came out last February and I know our main character's last name is Valentine, so I've always associated that with the month of February and have wanted to read it during February, but since it came out last February, I don't think it's been quite a year and I don't think I got it right when it was released, so that one will not work for this prompt. But we could pull a few books from last month's TBR that I didn't get to. I'm pretty sure both Tell Me Lies and Maybe in Another Life have been on the TBR for over a year. And like I said, they were both on January's TBR. I was really excited to read them, but just didn't get a chance to. So I'm gonna go ahead and start a stack and add those two. The Frozen River is one that I've always wanted to read during the winter time. I'm pretty sure I got it last January, I want to say. So it's probably been on the TBR for just over a year. And I feel like I'm not going to want to read this book when it's not winter time because it seems just like a very atmospheric, snowy setting. Perfect for this time of year. So I'm going to add this one to the stack. There's definitely lots of options, but it's about which options I would want to read is the important thing. These two are kind of standing out to me because they have love in the title, so I'm thinking good for the month of love. We have The Love Wager by Lynn Painter and then How to End a Love Story by Yulin Kwong. Both of these I would be very interested to read. I haven't really read an adult novel from Lynn Painter. I've only read her YA romances and I haven't had the best luck with those, so I'm wondering if her adult romance will be more for me. And then How to End a Love Story I think is more women's fiction, but the author is the screenwriter of the People We Meet on Vacation adaptation, which I really loved, so I'm thinking I would really enjoy a book by her. I do feel like this one kind of gives me sad vibes though. Like I said, I think it's more women's fiction, not really romance heavy, so I don't know if those are the exact vibes I'm wanting right now, so I'm gonna go ahead and put this one back, but we have so many other good options. The Love Wager sounds like a really fun rom-com. I think these two, our male main character and female main character, have a bet going on with one another about who can get a date first. So that just sounds like it would be a really fun rom-com for February. The Frozen River is quite different from that. It's a historical fiction book, and I've heard really great things about it. I do think it'll be a little bit heavier and definitely one that isn't light and fluffy, which are kind of the vibes I'm wanting for February, but again, I really want to read this during the winter, and I feel like February will kind of be my last chance, so I'm not saying no to this one yet. And then Maybe in Another Life and Tell Me Lies, I'm still very keen to read both of these. I don't think either of these are really romances, even though there is a romantic relationship in both of them. They're more like drama, general fiction to my knowledge. Tell Me Lies I really do want to read because I want to watch the show, but I just want to read the source material first. And then Maybe in Another Life, the storyline sounds so good. We basically have our main character who goes out one night, and then at the end of the night she has the choice to either go home with her best friend or go home with her ex, and we follow 2 timelines of what happens if she went home with either person, which sounds like the coolest concept. But to be honest guys, unexpectedly, the one that I think I'm drawn to the most is The Love Wager by Lynn Painter. Like I said, Lynn Painter hasn't really worked out for me in the past, so I feel like I do want to give her one last chance since this is an adult romance and what I've read from her previously have been YA romances. I've heard that both from her are very different, so maybe I'll have better luck with an adult romance. And it just sounds like the perfect fun, fluffy, lighthearted rom-com that I'm wanting for the month of February. It just sounds like a lot of fun. Reading the back, it sounds like there's a fake dating trope, which is one of my favorites, so I'm gonna give this a try. I believe it is actually the second book in a interconnected standalone series. I haven't heard the best things about the first book in this series, so I'm totally fine to jump right into book 2. Again, no guarantees that this will get read in February, but I feel like there's a better chance since this one is just more fun and lighthearted, and that's what I feel drawn to right now for the month. Okay, prompt number 2. A book that matches the vibe of the last song you listened to. I do not remember the last song that I listened to. Probably something really random and weird. Ooh, randomly I was listening to Ellie Goulding's first album. I saw this TikTok of her doing like a re-record, I think, of Starry Eyed, and it made me remember how much I loved her first album. So I was just kind of listening to that whole album. I feel like the whole album has kind of like a dreamy vibe to it. It definitely has its own unique sound. So I don't know. I'm going to try to find a book that kind of matches that vibe. I feel like there are a lot of love songs on the album. I do think a lot of them are about heartbreak, so those could be some things I look for in the books I'm about to pick. Tell Me Lies, of course, is about a toxic relationship. So I think that possibly could work. I'll see what else we have on the other side before I pull it from the cart. First Time Caller. Again, really wanted to read this one in February. This one's about a single mom who calls into a romance hotline. I feel like this one feels too cutesy to match the vibe of the album. Maybe I can try Googling books to read if you like Bright Lights by Ellie Goulding. If you enjoy the electropop aesthetic, raw emotional vulnerability, themes of fame, and the nighttime vibe of the album, these books capture a similar energy. Daisy Jones and the Six, Maybe Someday, Perks of Being a Wallflower, I'm Glad My Mom Died. I feel like those books don't really fit the vibe. I feel like Tell Me Lies might be our best bet for this one, because even just looking at the titles of the songs, we have Starry Eyed, This Love Will Be Your Downfall, Under the Sheets, Every Time You Go, Wish I Stayed, Your Biggest Mistake. That to me is kind of giving like up and down roller coaster tumultuous relationship, because some songs reference the good in a relationship, some reference the bad, and that to me is Tell Me Lies. So I'm going to make Tell Me Lies the next book that I put on my February TBR. Like I mentioned, it was on last month's TBR, and I did really want to read it, but just didn't get to, so I'm hopeful that I will this month. I don't know too many of the details, other than, like I keep saying, it's about a toxic relationship, but I feel like it will be very entertaining, so I'm excited for that. And I'm, of course, excited to watch the show after, even though I've heard it's not really the exact same. I hear such great things about the show, but I did just want to give the book a try first, so we will see what I think. Okay, prompt number 3 is Main Character Has a Sister. How to End a Love Story by Yulin Kwong. I feel like I remember seeing that we do follow a sister relationship. Okay, yeah, this is definitely why I remembered that she had a sister. The first sentence of this book is so sad. All things considered, her little sister's funeral is a pretty boring affair. So it sounds like she has a sister that passes away. That sounds a little bit too sad for me at the minute, so I'm going to put this one back for now. I wonder if our main character in First Time Caller has a sister. I know she has children, but I feel like sometimes that's kind of a hard detail to know until you get into the book a ways. But actually, I feel like Charlie in Heartstopper has a sister, doesn't he? Yep, he sure does. I turned right to a page where he and his sister are having a conversation, so I might cut off my search there. So I am so excited to add Heartstopper Volume 4 to the TBR. This is probably one that I would have read anyway had it not been on the TBR, because I considered choosing it last month, but I felt that it was more fitting for Valentine's Day, especially this cover. I just feel like it's perfect for this month. And I'm confident that this is one that I actually will read, because these are YA graphic novels, so they read super, super quickly. I usually can read the whole book in one sitting in like an hour or two, and they are just the cutest. If you're unfamiliar, Heartstopper is a series following Nick and Charlie. They are a couple, and it's very much coming of age, focusing on their romance as well as a lot of the tough things that they have to go through, and I just feel like they are the sweetest, cutest books ever. This is exactly what I need for the month of February, so I'm so happy that this one works for the prompt. Okay, prompt number 4 is a book that a character from the last book you read would read. Last book I read was The Storied Life of AJ Fikry. That was the one book from last month's TBR that I did manage to read. That's actually so funny because a lot of the book does focus on his reading taste and things that he likes in books because he runs his own bookstore. And he's a very picky man. He's very picky about the books that he reads and likes. One thing that he really likes, I know, is short stories. But I actually just remembered something on the cart that I feel like would work even better. There's kind of an inside joke in the book about his feelings towards vampire media. So I feel like the most fitting book to work for this prompt is Mate by Ali Hazelwood, because these are books following vampires and werewolves. This one was on my TBR for January and I didn't get a chance to read it, but I actually did just start the audiobook yesterday. I'm only like 20 minutes in, so I was considering not putting this one on the TBR cart, but I wasn't completely sure if I was going to stick with the audiobook. But now that it's officially on the TBR, I definitely am more motivated to keep going with this one. This is book 2 in a series by Ali Hazelwood. The first book in the series was Bride, which I wasn't the biggest fan of. I thought it was okay, but Ali Hazelwood is one of my favorite authors, so I do want to read everything that she writes. Just some of her books I like more than others, and I tend to like her women in STEM romances better than her paranormal romances, but I'm still definitely going to give this one a try. I feel like AJ Fikry would approve. He would find it funny. It definitely works well. If you've read the book, you probably understand why I'm picking this one. I don't want to give anything away, but I'm going to make Mate by Ali Hazelwood the next book I officially add to the TBR. Okay, prompt number 5. I'm trying to pull from the bottom. A book with chapter titles. I could go back to the Frozen River, see if this one has chapter titles. Looks like it does. Perfect, so this one would work. Add it to the stack. I don't think Maybe in Another Life does. I don't even think it has chapter numbers. I think it just kind of like breaks in the page. Yeah, no chapter titles. Let's go back to First Time Caller, because this one has to make it to the TBR. I am so motivated to read this one in February, but it does not look like it has chapter titles. It just changes character perspectives. So I'm gonna just make this easy and pick the Frozen River for this prompt. I feel like it's kind of rare for historical fiction books to have chapter titles. I feel like usually more contemporary books have them. Maybe I'm wrong, but I'm so glad that it works for the prompt because, like I said, I really want to read this one specifically in the winter. And I feel like once February is over, I'm going to be thinking about spring and not really wanting to read winter books too much more. This one is a bit outside of my comfort zone. I remember picking it up because it's set in Maine and I've always wanted to take a trip to Maine. But we're following our main character, Martha. She is a midwife and I believe she is investigating a murder that happened in the town where she lives. So I have heard good things about this one. I'm really hopeful that I will enjoy it, even though it's not my usual kind of read. Okay, final prompt. Give me something good. Free pick. Perfect. And you guys already know what we're going with. That is First Time Caller by B.K. Borison. Again, solely want to read this in the month of February because 1, it is a romance. 2, it came out in February of last year. And 3, most importantly, our male main character's last name is Valentine. So I feel like for all those reasons, I just had to pick it and had to read it in the month of February. I've honestly heard kind of mixed things about this book, so I don't know how I'm going to feel. And I especially don't know how I'm going to feel based on how I felt about the Love Light Farm series by the same author. I absolutely loved the first book in that series, but from there, I did not enjoy any of the other books at all. So I'm really interested to give her another try and see what I think. I feel like this one seems different, and I'm hoping that there's more to the story than there was with the books of hers that I wasn't the biggest fan of. It sounds really unique. I've never read a book about a radio show that I can think of, and it just feels like it's gonna have classic rom-com vibes, which is what I'm wanting for the month of love. So excited to make this one the final book on my February TBR. So the 6 books on my February TBR are First Time Caller by B.K. Borison, The Frozen River by Ariel Lawhon, Mate by Allie Hazelwood, Heartstopper Volume 4 by Alice Oseman, Tell Me Lies by Carola Lovering, and The Love Wager by Lynn Painter. So I feel like we did pretty well. We have a pretty good mix. There's not too much romance, but just enough to give me the rom-com vibes that I'm wanting. And then we just have some different kinds of stories that I feel like are still good for this season, for this time of year. So I'm excited. I am hopeful. I'm going to do my best to get to as many books as possible next month. Let me know, as always, down below what is on your TBR for the month of February. Let me know if you've read any of the books that are on my TBR and what all your thoughts are on them down below. I would love to chat with you guys in the comments. Be sure to give this video a thumbs up if you did enjoy, and make sure you're subscribed if you're not already. I would love to have you guys here. Thank you all so much for watching, and I will see you so soon in my next video. Bye, guys.